Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. I've been to our lecture, Miss Bazila. And now, me, myself, Muhammad Aziz bin Hamzah, 210503, and my partner, Muhammad Iman bin Abu Salim, 210253, we present about our topic, which is renewable energy as an alternative to fossil fuels. So basically, in this slide, we talk about topics that include introduction to fossil fuel, degradation of land soil, water pollution, conclusion, and suggestion. So, what is fossil fuel? So basically, fossil fuel, we already know it made from decomposed plants and animals, which basically they contain carbon and also hydrogen, which can burn to produce energy. So, for example, we have petroleum, coal, natural gas, and also oil emulsion. Fossil fuel is not a renewable energy, and in home, fossil fuel are burned to produce heat and also energy. So, for the next slide, our first point is degradation of land soil. So we know that fossil fuel can lead to the degradation of land. For my first supporting point is because it's burn, it can release too much carbon dioxide. So for my supporting points, carbon emissions trap heat in the atmosphere and also lead to climate change, which can cause greenhouse effect after that. So for my second point is fauna lost their habitat. We already know that it requires large area for infrastructure, and also land can cover, which lead to living wildlife fragmented and also negative impact, which is destroyed. So I will pass to my partner.
Thank you, Azri, for super explanation in your part. So moving to my part, I will explain the water pollution that caused by the fossil fuel. Next slide. So for the second point, the fossil fuel that lead to the water pollution. So the first point is the ocean acidification. The carbon emission that enter atmosphere when the fossil fuels are burned affects on the ocean's chemistry. Ocean become more acidic. There are less calcium carbonate for the oyster, lobster, and other marine organisms to grow shells. This can have negative implication for the entire food chain. Next slide. So, the fossil fuel also can lead to the water pollution by the oil spill. From the oil spill to the fracking fluids, fossil fuels can cause water pollution. Each fracking well resulting wastewater can be toxic and contain harmful substances like lead, arsenic, chlorine that can contaminate groundwater and our drinking water. Fossil fuels extraction and transportation and refining can lead to the oil spill that can harm communities and wildlife, which can destroy the habitats and erode the shoreline, as the example you can see in the picture. So in conclusion, to conclude, fossil fuels bring negative effects to the communities and environment, which is the first one is the fossil fuel can increase the greenhouse effect from the carbon dioxide and greenhouse gas emissions. Second, the negative impact of the fossil fuel can disrupt the flora and fauna of their population and the diversity, explained by the Azri in this previous slide. Next, from the disruption of flora and fauna can lead to the species extinction, which is not only for the animal, but also for the plant. As I mentioned in my previous point, which is the disrupt of food chains, because such as an oyster, because first of all, maybe we look simple, we can have the alternative food, but we can see, I can give a brief explanation that fish or other food that we take alternative food, such as fish, maybe they eat oyster, but when the oyster are less, and also will lead the fish also less in quality because of disruption of food change. Next slide. All right. So for the suggestion from this negative impact, we have a few suggestions. So first of all, is we can shift to the other renewable energy. For example, the biofuel production uh, have a widely feedstock that can produce from any organic compounds, which I can give is algae, um, and also our food feedstock, such as the palm oil, the the byproduct of the palm oil. Many there are widely feedstock that can use for the biofuel production. And what the most important is they have a less emission of greenhouse gases. Next, I think that for our suggestion to control or to manage the fossil fuel uh, negative impact, which is the government role, which is there no need for new fossil fuel extraction or transportation infrastructure to be built in order to manage and avoid exploiting resources. Last but not least, which is a zero waste, by applying the 3R method, which is reuse, recycle, and reduce in conserve plastic usage that produce a fossil fuel. That's all for our presentation. Thank you for listening.